fell silent as the door slammed shut. A man stood frozen, holding a pink slip in his trembling hands. After 20 years of loyal service, all he had to show for it was this piece of paper and a cardboard box of memories. The weight of his family's expectations, their mortgage, their dreams, it all came crashing down in that moment. But in that same moment, something extraordinary happened. Something that would redefine not just his future, but our very understanding of what it means to succeed. He didn't know it then, but that pink slip wasn't an end. It was an invitation to prove that success doesn't whisper, it roars. And his story, well, that's just the beginning of what I'm about to share with you. But first, let me tell you about a young boy who stood at the edge of his neighborhood basketball court, trembling. Not from the cold, though the morning air was crisp. He trembled because 20 pairs of eyes were fixed upon him, accompanied by snickers and whispers. "Too short," they said. "Won't make it," they muttered. But in that moment, something extraordinary happened. Something that would shape not just his future, but the very essence of what we understand about success and human potential. That boy walked onto the court anyway, and in that simple act of defiance against others' opinions, he taught us all a lesson that echoes through time. Success isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. You see, we're all that boy at some point in our lives, standing at the edge of our own basketball court, whatever that might be. The whispers might be different, but they're there. You're not qualified enough. The market is too competitive. You don't have the right background. It's already been done before. These voices, some external, some internal, they're the background noise of every great achievement that's ever been accomplished. But here's what fascinates me. When you study the lives of those who've achieved remarkable things, you notice something peculiar. They didn't succeed because they had no doubters. They succeeded because they understood a fundamental truth. The volume of your success drowns out the noise of opinion. Success isn't about silence, it's about being louder. Not with words, mind you, but with actions, with results, with unwavering dedication to your craft. Consider the local diner owner who was told her neighborhood couldn't support another restaurant. Instead of arguing, she poured her heart into creating the most memorable breakfast experience in town. Her response to the skeptics? The line of customers stretching around the block every Sunday morning. Or take the teacher who was told his methods were too unconventional. His response? A classroom of students who not only excelled in tests but developed a lifelong love for learning. His success wasn't measured in words, it was measured in the transformed lives of his students. This is where most people get it wrong. They spend precious energy trying to prove their critics wrong. They waste valuable time crafting elaborate responses to every doubt, every criticism, every skeptical glance. But here's the truth. While they're busy arguing, others are busy succeeding. Success, my friends, has a peculiar quality. It creates its own acoustics. It generates a frequency that drowns out the static of doubt and criticism. But this isn't about being deaf to feedback. No, this is about understanding the difference between constructive guidance and limiting beliefs. Let me share something with you that might change your perspective forever. Opinions are like seeds scattered in the wind. They land everywhere, but only you decide which ones you water. The most successful among us have mastered the art of selective listening. They've learned to distinguish between the voice of experience offering wisdom and the voice of fear masquerading as concern. You might be sitting there thinking, that's easier said than done. And you're right, it is. But that's precisely why success is so rare and so valuable. Because while everyone can have an opinion, not everyone has the courage to pursue their convictions in the face of doubt. The first person who suggested that humans could fly, can you imagine the opinions they faced, the ridicule, the skepticism? Yet today, we soar through the skies in metal vessels, crossing oceans in hours. Their success wasn't just louder than opinions, it rendered those opinions obsolete. But let's get personal for a moment. Think about your own life. What dreams have you put on hold because of someone's opinion? What ambitions have you tucked away because someone said it couldn't be done? More importantly, what might happen if you decided, starting today, that your success would speak louder than any opinion ever could? I'm reminded of a small business owner who started with nothing but a skill for fixing shoes. Everyone told him the age of handcrafted footwear was over. Nobody cares about quality anymore, they said. It's all about mass production now. 20 years later, his waiting list is months long, and his craftsmanship is sought after by customers from across the country. He never argued with the naysayers. He just kept crafting exceptional shoes one pair at a time. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where theory transforms into practice. Because success isn't just about being right, it's about being relentless. It's about understanding that every hour you spend defending your dreams is an hour you could have spent pursuing them. Think of success as a mountain you're climbing. The opinions of others are like the weather, sometimes favorable, often challenging, but never the determining factor in whether you reach the summit. Your success is determined by your preparation, your persistence, and your unwavering belief in the climb itself. But here's the part that many miss. Success isn't always loud in the conventional sense. Sometimes it's the quiet satisfaction of knowing you stayed true to your vision when everyone else doubted. Sometimes it's the silent pride of maintaining your integrity when others suggested shortcuts. Sometimes it's the peaceful understanding that you don't need to justify your journey to anyone but yourself. The kind that comes from within, the kind that doesn't need validation from the outside world. It's the power that emerges when you realize that your success isn't measured by the applause of others, but by the alignment with your own values and vision. Remember the old saying about actions speaking louder than words? Well, success speaks louder than opinions. And here's the beautiful irony. The more you focus on creating success, the less you'll find yourself concerned with opinions. It's like turning up the volume on what matters while the background noise naturally fades away. But let's talk about something that might make you uncomfortable, the price of this journey. Because make no mistake, choosing to let your success speak for itself comes with a cost. It means lonely nights when others are socializing. It means early mornings when others are sleeping. It means facing uncertainty when others choose security. It means being misunderstood, sometimes for years, before your vision becomes clear to others. Here's a truth that might sting a little. Not everyone wants you to succeed. Some people are invested in your limitations because your success might force them to question their own choices. They might say they're protecting you from disappointment, but often they're protecting themselves from the discomfort of seeing someone else dare greatly. The small-town merchant who dreamed of expanding his business beyond the local market. His neighbors warned him about the risks, reminded him of others who had failed, cautioned him about getting too big for his boots. He listened politely, but kept his eyes fixed on his vision. Today, his products are shipped across the country, and those same neighbors point to his store with pride, claiming they knew him when. This is where character enters the equation. Because success that speaks louder than opinions isn't just about achievement, it's about the person you become in pursuit of that achievement. It's about developing the strength to stay focused when distractions abound. It's about cultivating the wisdom to distinguish between valuable feedback and limiting beliefs. It's about building the resilience to weather not just failure, but also the sometimes harder challenge of early success. Let me share something profound with you. The moment you decide that your success will speak louder than any opinion is the moment you take full ownership of your life. It's a declaration of independence from the tyranny of other people's expectations. It's your personal declaration that you'd rather fail at something meaningful than succeed at something insignificant. Consider the story of a young woman who wanted to become a professional chef in a time when commercial kitchens were predominantly male territories. The opinions were relentless. Too demanding for a woman, they said. You'll never handle the pressure, they warned. But she had an interesting approach. She treated those opinions like ingredients in a recipe she didn't want to cook. She simply set them aside and created her own menu for success. She started small, very small, a catering business run from her home kitchen. Every dish was prepared with meticulous attention to detail. Every client was treated as if they were dining at a five-star restaurant. She didn't argue about gender roles in professional kitchens. She didn't write passionate defenses of her career choice. She just cooked, and cooked, and cooked some more. Her success didn't come with a thunderclap. It grew like a well-tended garden, one satisfied customer at a time. Today, she owns one of the most respected restaurants in her city. The interesting part? Some of her most vocal critics are now proud to say they know her. But she's too busy perfecting her next dish to pay much attention to that irony. This brings us to a crucial point about the relationship between success and opinions. Time is the great arbiter. Opinions are immediate, but success is cumulative. Opinions can change in an instant, but success is built day by day, choice by choice, action by action. Think of it this way. Every significant achievement in human history was once considered impossible, impractical, or just plain foolish by the majority. The automobile was seen as a noisy nuisance that would never replace horses. The telephone was dismissed as a toy with no practical business applications. Each time, the inventors and innovators could have spent their energy arguing, defending, explaining. Instead, they invested that energy in refining their ideas, improving their creations, solving real problems. But here's where many people get stuck. They wait for permission. They wait for consensus. They wait for everyone to agree that their path is the right one. And in doing so, they hand over their power to the very opinions they should be transcending. The truth is, the world doesn't give you permission to succeed. It gives you opportunity, yes. It gives you challenges that can strengthen you, problems that can engage your creativity, obstacles that can test your commitment. But permission, that comes from within. Let's be clear about something. This isn't about ignoring all feedback or dismissing every opinion. It's about developing the discernment to know which opinions serve your growth and which ones serve only to limit it. It's about understanding that not all feedback is created equal, and not every opinion deserves equal weight in your decision-making process. Think of opinions like passing clouds. Some bring needed rain, others just block the sun. Your job isn't to control the weather, it's to keep growing regardless of conditions. Some of the most beautiful gardens grow in challenging climates, not because the weather changed, but because the gardener learned to adapt, to protect, to persist. Here's something that might surprise you. The most dangerous opinions aren't always the ones that come from others. Often they're the ones we tell ourselves. The internal dialogue that questions our worth, that reminds us of past failures, that whispers, "Who do you think you are?" in the quiet moments when we dare to dream big. But successful people have learned a crucial secret. They've learned to make their actions so loud that they can't hear these whispers anymore. They've discovered that doubt dissolves in the face of consistent action, that fear fades when confronted with steady progress, that even their own limiting beliefs cannot stand against the evidence of their daily achievements. A local grocer who transformed his small corner store into something extraordinary. His inner voice told him he was just a simple shopkeeper, that he couldn't compete with the big chains, that he should be content with what he had. But instead of letting these thoughts define his limits, he used them to fuel his innovation. He started paying attention to what his customers really needed, not just what they bought. He noticed how many of them were elderly, struggling with the long walk to the bigger stores. So he began a delivery service, nothing fancy, just him and his old station wagon after closing time. He observed how many young mothers came in with children, so he created a small play area in the corner of the store. He saw how many of his customers lived alone, so he started stocking smaller portions. His inner critic said these changes were too simple to matter. The voice of doubt told him he was trying too hard for a mere corner store. But a remarkable thing happened. His small innovations began to create big changes. His customers didn't just shop at his store, they began to rely on it. They didn't just buy groceries, they found a community. This is what I mean when I say success is louder than opinions, even our own opinions. Every small victory, every satisfied customer, every problem solved became evidence that drowned out the voice of doubt. His success wasn't measured in grand gestures or revolutionary changes. It was built on simple, consistent actions that aligned with a clear purpose. But here's the part that really matters. He never set out to prove anyone wrong, not even himself. He simply focused on serving his community better each day. The success that followed wasn't about winning arguments or silencing critics. It was about creating value that spoke for itself. This brings us to a crucial understanding about the nature of true success. It's not a destination you reach. It's a way of being that you embody. It's not about arriving at some fixed point where all doubts cease and all opinions turn favorable. It's about moving forward with such purpose and conviction that opinions, whether external or internal, lose their power to direct your course, the way water shapes stone. It doesn't argue with the rock about which way it should flow. It doesn't try to justify its path. It simply flows, consistently, persistently, day after day, year after year. And in that flowing, it creates paths that can cut through the hardest obstacles. Your success needs to be like that water, not fighting against opinions, but flowing with such consistent purpose that it naturally shapes the landscape of your life. This isn't about force, it's about persistence. It's not about speed, it's about consistency. It's not about volume, it's about impact. Consider the craft of a master carpenter. In a world of mass production and quick fixes, he chose to create furniture the old way, with careful attention to detail, with respect for the natural grain of the wood, with joints that would hold for generations. Many told him this was outdated, that consumers wouldn't pay for such time-intensive work, that he needed to modernize, to speed up, to cut corners. His response wasn't to argue about the value of craftsmanship. He didn't write manifestos about the superiority of handmade furniture. He simply continued to create pieces of such obvious quality that they became their own argument. Each piece that left his workshop was a quiet rebuke to the culture of disposable goods, each satisfied customer a testament to the enduring value of doing things right. This is the kind of success that outlasts opinions, success that's built on fundamental value, on genuine contribution, on authentic service to others. It's success that doesn't need to announce itself because its impact is self-evident. But let's talk about something that often gets overlooked in discussions about success, the importance of silence. Yes, silence. Because while we're talking about success being louder than opinions, there's immense power in knowing when to be quiet, when to let your work speak for itself, when to allow the evidence of your efforts to be your only response. This kind of silence isn't weakness, it's strength. It's not surrender, it's strategy. It's the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you're on the right path, even if others can't see it yet. It's the inner certainty that allows you to keep moving forward when others say you should turn back. A teacher who revolutionized her classroom through unconventional methods. When colleagues criticized her approach, she didn't engage in lengthy debates about educational theory. She didn't try to convince them with passionate speeches about the need for change. She simply kept teaching, kept innovating, kept focusing on her students' growth. And gradually, the improved performance of her students, their increased engagement, their genuine love of learning, these became arguments that no one could refute. There's a moment in every journey toward success when you face a fundamental choice. It's not the dramatic crossroads you might expect. It's subtler, more personal, and infinitely more important. It's the moment when you decide whether to let the opinions of others define your limits or to let your own vision define your possibilities. Let me share something that might change how you think about success forever. Success isn't just about achieving goals. It's about becoming someone who is no longer moved by the winds of opinion. It's about developing such a clear sense of purpose that external voices, no matter how loud, can't shake your foundation. Consider the story of a small bookstore owner in a time when everyone said books were dying. The prevailing opinion was clear. Nobody reads anymore. You can't compete with the big retailers. It's a dying industry. But this bookstore owner understood something profound, something that would transform not just his business but his entire community. He realized that his bookstore wasn't just selling books. It was creating experiences. He began organizing reading circles for children, hosting discussion groups for adults, creating spaces where ideas could flourish and community could grow. When people said reading was solitary, he made it social. When they said it was passive, he made it active. When they said it was outdated, he made it timeless. Did he argue with the critics? No. Did he write passionate defenses of the printed word? No. He simply created an environment where the value of books was self-evident, where the power of stories was tangible, where the importance of literature was experienced rather than debated. This is what we mean when we say success is louder than opinions. It's not about volume, it's about impact. It's not about winning arguments, it's about creating undeniable value. The bookstore didn't just survive, it became a cultural cornerstone of the community. The success wasn't in proving critics wrong, it was in proving the value right. But here's where many people get stuck. They mistake motion for progress. They confuse activity with achievement. They spend so much energy responding to opinions that they have little left for creating success. This is a trap, a seductive one, but a trap nonetheless. True success requires something different. It requires the courage to be misunderstood, sometimes for long periods. It requires the strength to keep building while others are busy critiquing. It requires the wisdom to know that not every opinion deserves a response, and not every critic deserves your attention. The farmer who plants an orchard. The results aren't visible for years. During that time, plenty of people might question the wisdom of their investment, the choice of their crops, the layout of their land. But the farmer understands something essential. Arguing about whether trees will grow doesn't make them grow any faster. Only proper planting, consistent care, and patient tending will yield the desired harvest. Your success needs to be approached with the same patient wisdom. Every hour spent defending your dreams is an hour not spent building them. Every moment invested in proving critics wrong is a moment not invested in proving yourself right. This brings us to a crucial truth about the relationship between success and opinion. Opinions are often based on the past, while success is always about the future. When people offer opinions, they're usually drawing from their own experiences, their own limitations, their own fears. But your success, that's about possibilities they can't see, potential they can't measure, futures they can't imagine. A dance instructor who started teaching in her garage. Everyone told her she needed a proper studio, professional equipment, the right certifications. The opinions were endless and some were valid. But she understood something vital. She didn't need perfect conditions to start creating value. She began with 3 students. Her focus wasn't on proving she could teach dance. It was on ensuring her students could dance. She didn't waste energy defending her methods. She invested it in refining them. She didn't argue about her qualifications. She let her students' progress speak for itself. What happened next was remarkable but not surprising. Those 3 students became 10. 10 became 20. The garage became too small, not because she was trying to grow, but because she was too effective not to grow. Success created its own momentum, its own advocacy, its own proof. This is the power of letting your success speak for itself. It creates evidence that no opinion can dispute. But here's the key. She never waited for permission to be excellent. She never waited for consensus to be effective. She simply focused on creating value, on serving her students, on refining her craft. And this brings us to another vital understanding about success. It's not always about doing extraordinary things. Often it's about doing ordinary things with extraordinary consistency, extraordinary care, extraordinary commitment. It's about showing up day after day, not just when you feel inspired, not just when it's convenient, but especially when it's hard. The most profound truth about success isn't found in the moments of triumph. It's found in the quiet moments when you choose to continue despite doubt. It's found in those private victories when you decide, once again, to let your actions speak louder than any words ever could. Let me share something that might fundamentally shift your perspective. The opinions that try to limit you are often tributes to your potential. When people say you're dreaming too big, they're acknowledging that your vision extends beyond their comfort zone. When they say it can't be done, they're admitting that you're attempting something beyond their experience. When they say you should be realistic, they're revealing their own boundaries, not yours. Consider the story of a small-town baker who decided to create bread the way it was made centuries ago, with natural leaven, long fermentation, and hand-shaping. The local supermarket manager told her nobody would pay premium prices for bread anymore. Health food critics said her methods were unnecessarily time-consuming. Business advisors suggested she needed to streamline, mechanize, modernize. But she understood something essential about success, something that would transform not just her business but her entire approach to life. She realized that every loaf of bread she created was an argument more powerful than words could ever be. Every customer who experienced the difference in taste, in texture, in digestibility became evidence that couldn't be disputed. She didn't succeed because she won arguments about traditional baking methods. She succeeded because she created bread that made those arguments unnecessary. The lines that formed outside her bakery every morning became a response more eloquent than any debate. The customers who drove from neighboring towns to buy her bread became proof more convincing than any business plan. This is the ultimate power of letting your success speak for itself. It transforms critics into customers, skeptics into supporters, doubters into advocates. Not because you convince them with words, but because you convince them with value. But here's the part that many miss. This kind of success requires a special kind of courage. Not the loud, showy courage that seeks attention, but the quiet courage that shows up every day before dawn to light the ovens. The steady courage that maintains standards when others suggest shortcuts. The patient courage that trusts in the slow, steady process of building something genuine. The most meaningful successes in your own life. Were they achieved by winning arguments? Or were they achieved by consistent action, by steady progress, by unwavering commitment to your vision? Your future success will be built the same way, not by silencing critics, but by becoming so focused on your goals that you barely hear them. This brings us to a fundamental truth about the relationship between success and opinions. Opinions are like weather, constantly changing, often unpredictable, and largely beyond your control. But your success, that's like climate shaped by your consistent actions, your daily choices, your unwavering commitment to your goals. You see, the world is full of opinions about what you can't do, what you shouldn't attempt, what's impossible or impractical or unwise. But here's what those opinions can't do. They can't stop you from taking action. They can't prevent you from learning, growing, improving. They can't keep you from showing up every day and doing the work that matters to you. Let me share one final story about a writing teacher who believed that everyone had a story worth telling. In an era when people said attention spans were too short for serious reading, when critics claimed that storytelling was a dying art, she quietly went about teaching people how to find their voice. She didn't argue about the value of literature. She didn't debate the importance of personal expression. Instead, she created a space where people could discover their own stories, where they could experience the power of their own words, where they could find their own voices. One student at a time, one story at a time, she built something remarkable. Not a defense of writing, but a demonstration of its power. Not an argument about creativity, but a proof of its importance. Her success wasn't in winning debates about the value of storytelling. It was in creating storytellers. And this brings us to the heart of what it means to let your success speak louder than opinions. It's about understanding that your best response to doubt is dedication. Your most powerful argument is achievement. Your most convincing rebuttal is results. As you leave here today, remember this. The world doesn't need another voice in the debate about what's possible. It needs more people who are too busy making things possible to engage in that debate. It doesn't need more opinions about success. It needs more examples of success. Your success, your real, genuine, hard-won success, will never need to shout to be heard. It will speak with the quiet authority of undeniable results. It will communicate with the clear voice of actual achievement. It will resonate with the deep power of authentic value created, lives touched, differences made. So let the critics have their say. Let the skeptics share their doubts. Let the cynics predict failure. Your response isn't to argue, it's to act. Your reply isn't to defend, it's to do. Your rebuttal isn't to speak, it's to succeed. Because in the end, success isn't just louder than opinions. It's more eloquent, more convincing, more lasting. It doesn't just win arguments. It makes them irrelevant. It doesn't just prove points. It creates new possibilities. It doesn't just silence critics. It transforms them into witnesses of what's possible when someone chooses to let their achievements do the talking. Your success story is waiting to be written, not with words, but with actions. Not with arguments, but with achievements. Not with responses to critics, but with results that render criticism obsolete. Remember, every great achievement began with someone who was willing to be misunderstood long enough to be proven right. Every significant breakthrough started with someone who chose to let their success speak louder than the opinions around them. Now it's your turn. Your success is waiting, and it's ready to speak louder than any opinion ever could. Let it speak. Let it resound. Let it echo through time as testimony to what's possible when you decide that your success will do your talking for you. The world is waiting, not for your arguments, not for your defenses, not for your explanations. It's waiting for your success. And that success, it's going to be louder than any opinion ever dreamed of being. And that success, your success, will reverberate through generations. It will inspire others to find their own voice, to chart their own path, to let their own achievements speak. It will remind them that the greatest statements aren't made with words, but with unwavering dedication to one's purpose. Because when your success speaks, it doesn't just tell your story. It tells the story of every dream that refused to be silenced, every vision that persisted despite doubt, every goal that was achieved not through argument but through action. Think of the legacy you're building. Every small victory, every milestone reached, every challenge overcome. These are the notes in your symphony of success. They compose a melody that will inspire others long after the critics have fallen silent, long after the doubters have moved on, long after the skeptics have found new targets for their uncertainty. Your success will speak in the lives you touch, in the changes you create, in the possibilities you open for others. It will echo in the courage you inspire, in the paths you forge, in the standards you set. It will resonate in the hearts of those who see your journey and find the strength to begin their own. Remember this. Every great oak began as a seed that ignored the opinions of those who said it was planted in the wrong soil. Every mighty river began as a stream that didn't ask permission to carve its path through stone. Every breakthrough that changed the world began with someone who chose to let their work speak louder than their words. You are that seed. You are that stream. You are that breakthrough waiting to happen. Your success isn't just a personal achievement. It's a beacon for others who dare to dream. It's a testament to the power of persistent action over endless argument. It's proof that the only opinion that truly matters is the one you demonstrate through your dedication, your resilience, your unwavering commitment to excellence. So step forward, take action. Let your success create an echo that drowns out every whisper of doubt, every murmur of disbelief, every shout of impossibility. Let it build into a crescendo of achievement that inspires generations to come. Because in the end, success doesn't just speak, it roars. And your roar, it's just beginning. This is your moment. This is your time. This is your opportunity to show the world that success needs no defense, no explanation, no justification. It needs only the steady rhythm of consistent action, the quiet power of relentless progress, the undeniable evidence of lives changed and possibilities created. Let every step you take be a word in your story of success. Let every goal you reach be a chapter in your legacy of achievement. Let every dream you realize be a volume in your library of possibility. The world isn't waiting for another voice in the chorus of opinion. It's waiting for the symphony of your success, and in that symphony, it's about to begin. Now rise, act, achieve. Let your success speak with such clarity that it awakens the dreamers, moves the hesitant, and silences the critics, not through argument, but through the undeniable power of what you've built, what you've created, what you've achieved. Your time is now. Your success is waiting, and its voice will echo through eternity.